Hi, Ryan and Kelly here.
Hello again.
Today we're going to be walking through the installation of one of our Duroair systems. Now this video is designed to offer tips and tricks, but remember, if you have any more detailed questions, please refer to your manual or call us for more information. Now this is how your system's going to arrive. It'll arrive in two pieces. The first piece is going to be on this metal rack, which is your enclosure. The second piece is your air filtration system. The first step in the assembly is going to be working on your enclosure. Starting off, we're going to be taking all the metal pieces off this rack and laying them out onto the floor. We've now unloaded the rack and put all the pieces out onto the ground. The one piece we did leave on the rack were the two filter doors, which we're going to install at the end of the assembly process. As a next step, we're going to walk around and explain what every piece that we have laid out is going to be used for. We're going to start off by looking at the back wall. Now there's four pieces that go into the back wall. First is the rear man door. Second is the C channel that'll be used on the other side. And then there's a top rail and a bottom rail. Now, there's a couple tips and tricks to be able to differentiate between your front wall and your back wall in terms of the top rail and the bottom rail. The bottom rail is gonna have ratchet straps on it. The top rail is gonna have two poly-lock channels. Now, it's very important that you make sure that your poly-lock channels are oriented properly with the two side pieces. Now the next piece we're going to look at is the front wall. The front wall consists of three pieces. There are two sidewall pieces that are in the shape of a C channel, and then one top cross rail piece, and we'll walk through the differences between the front wall top rail and the back wall top rail. Now the top rail pieces on the front wall and the back wall are very similar. The one difference is that you'll notice on the front wall there's only one poly-lock channel versus the back wall where there was two. Now when you're installing the front wall, it's very important that, similar to the back wall, that you orient the poly-lock channels with the poly-lock channels on the side pieces. Now you can tell that this is the front wall piece for a couple different reasons. First, it has the hinges, which are going to be used to install the doors. Now second, the front piece has a protective covering covering the wheels. Now when you're laying the piece down on the ground, you want to make sure that you have the wheels facing down. Now the next section we're going to look at is the roof supports and sidewall supports. Now there are four roof supports that are comprised of two sections each. Now these two pieces slide together and are bolted together for stability. The next piece is the sidewall supports, and there are four of these on each side. There's no difference between the left side and the right side of your enclosure. Now these sections are all held together by the 5 hinge brackets. There are 5 of these on each side.
For complete structure assembly, only tools required are a 9/16 wrench and either a 9/16 socket or nut driver. Next piece to put in would be a hinge assembly on each back wall, ensuring the hinge faces the exterior of the booth. It's simply done by sliding the assembly up and dropping into the bottom channel. Leave the assembly folded at this time. The next part of the assembly is to assemble one sidewall support. This is done by keeping the wheel in an upright direction and sliding your top rail assembly into it. Again, simply slide your post up and drop into your bottom rail. This now solidifies your back wall. Repeat this step for the next 3 side wall assemblies. Now that all your sidewall assemblies are in place and your last hinge is in place, bolt your front wall assembly together. And just a reminder to keep your bolt heads on the exterior and your poly lock channel in line. After removing your bushings from your front wall assembly, place one on each hinge assembly. This is to allow your doors to swing easily in and out. All hardware will come packaged in one bag. Individually, the bolts will be in separate Ziploc storage bags. What we're going to do now is assemble the final hardware into the sidewall assemblies. This is done orientating the bolt again so the head is on the exterior. There will be 20 of these placed just above the hinge assembly. Repeat this for each and every hinge assembly. We're going to now do the door assembly. This is done by locating the 3 hinges on the door and lining up with the 3 hinges on the front wall. Make sure you orient your door with the handle to the exterior of the booth and your poly lock strip to the exterior of the booth. As the galvanized booth leaves a lot of dirt on your hands, we're going to clean up before we start the next assembly of the curtain walls.
Now while Kelly's off washing his hands, which is an important part in having a clean installation, we're going to do a quick recap on the assembly of the enclosure thus far to make sure that everything's done properly. Now we're going to start off by looking at the front wall assembly. Now remember, the front wall is where we have the filter doors, which attach onto the hinge using the brass bushings. Also on the front wall, we have the protective piece that's going to keep the vinyl away from the wheels when extending and retracting the enclosure. Now as we move along, we've used the hinge to attach the sidewall supports, and we've bolted these pieces, remembering that the head of the bolt should always be on the outside of the enclosure to protect the material. So here we are looking at the back wall. Now remember, the back wall consists of the rear man door, the bottom rail, which has the 2 ratchet straps, and the top rail, which has the 2 poly lock channels. Now, as we walk through the system, you'll remember, one of the steps was to attach the 2 top rails with the side rails, bolting them all together. We then used the hinge bracket to attach all the sidewall supports together.